Hi, everyone. My name is Emma Hetrick, and I'm a graduate research assistant, or GRA, at the Harry Ransom Center. Today, I'll be presenting about virtual archival engagement with interactive visualizations. I'm a graduate student in a dual degree master's program in Information Studies and English at the University of Texas at Austin. At the Harry Ransom Center, I work in the Research and Reference Division, where my primary responsibility is to answer patron queries for scans of collection materials. However, when I began my position in the fall of 2020, the Harry Ransom Center was closed, so I could only perform remote work. During this semester, I was enrolled in a course at the School of Information called Data Storytelling. For the final project of the course, I had to complete a data visualization. Given my working relationship with the Harry Ransom Center, it seemed like the perfect opportunity to explore some of the collections virtually. The Harry Ransom Center, or HRC, is a cultural heritage institution at the University of Texas at Austin with a wide array of collections, programming, and initiatives. It is a museum, archive, library hybrid that houses over 1 million books, 42 million manuscripts, 5 million photographs, and 100,000 works of art. The mission of the HRC is to, quote, encourage discovery, inspire creativity, and advance understanding of the humanities for a broad and diverse audience through the preservation and sharing of its extraordinary collections, end quote. The HRC has a robust instruction division and offers classes taught by staff for UT courses. In a typical in-person class, HRC staff members give a brief presentation about the HRC and share the significance of archival materials, including what information can be learned from them. Students are then presented with material from the HRC collections and are encouraged to move around the classroom and engage with the materials. This experience, of course, can't be fully replicated online. When the HRC shifted to virtual instruction as a result of the pandemic in spring 2020, engagement with physical objects in the collection was replaced with images and materials that had been previously digitized and were available either through the public-facing digital collections database or the staff-restricted digital images database. While working on my data visualization project, I was not interested in replicating the reading room experience, but rather experimenting with another way of interacting with collections. In other words, I wanted to answer the question, when in-person visits to the archive aren't available, how can students engage with university collections? The Sueltas collection, comprised of over 15,000 items related to Spanish theater from the 17th to the 20th centuries, provided an interesting and useful case study because it is not digitized, but the HRC has extensive metadata about it easily accessible in text files. Therefore, not only does this project enable a different form of archival engagement, but it also increases access to a collection that is currently not available to be viewed online. Based on my conversation with the HRC metadata librarian, who had worked with the collection previously, it was clear that the data fields most relevant to this project would be the ones with the names of the author, publisher, and translator of each item, as well as the date that the item was published. As someone interested in print culture, looking at the contributors involved in the creation of the items in the collection was of particular interest to me. HRC classes are geared to stimulate student learning and interaction with the collection. That is, students really steer the direction the discussion and analysis takes. Because of this, it was important that my visualization was designed to be exploratory and allow students to draw their own conclusions about the data. I used Tableau, a visualization software, to create a data visualization with the Sueltas metadata dataset. Tableau, which is available in both a paid-for expansive version and free, more limited version, can turn spreadsheets or other text files into interactive graphs, charts, maps, and other visualizations. I'll begin my discussion of the dashboard with an explanation of some of the design choices and overarching goals of the dashboard. The dashboard is designed based on the HRC style guide, including the particular colors and fonts used. I assigned a color to all of the visual elements related to authors, publishers, and translators, respectively, to help the user distinguish between them. I used a variety of visual elements, including large numbers and highlight tables, in order to distinguish between the sections, foster exploration, and highlight particular parts of the data. I will describe the elements of my dashboard moving from top to bottom, although this is not the only way someone could interact with the dashboard. There are 3 levels to the data: collection, field, and text. Moving from collection level information to item level information. At the very top of the dashboard is the title, an exploration of the Harry Ransom Center's Sueltas collection, and the official logo of the HRC, which the user can click on to view the HRC website. The first row of data offers a brief explanation of the data set taken directly from the HRC's online Sueltas collection. The number of authors, publishers, translators, and items in the collection are shown. There's also a note about the fact that I chose the label unknown to denote both text where the translator, author, or publisher's name was not in the text, and text that did not have one of these contributors. If I were to update this visualization, I would decrease the amount of text at the top and consider other ways of representing the names of unknown contributors. The second level of data focuses on the number of authors, publishers, or translators in a given year. I created a calculated field so that the user can filter the area chart to move between these 3 types of contributors. In this section, it was also necessary to include a brief explanation of how to interact with the chart. If a user clicks on the visual representation for a specific year, the tooltip provides a brief explanation of the data, and the highlight tables below will filter for that year. For example, I might choose to display the translators and then pick 1843, and I can see on the tooltip that there were 15 translators that year, and then I'll click on it. And now below, the tables have filtered for that year. And if I want to deselect that, I just click in the blank space. And now the tables are back to normal below. The last row of data includes 3 highlight tables for authors, publishers, and translators. The names in each table are sorted by the greatest number of texts in the collection associated with them to the least. The user has the option of scrolling through the entire list of names for each table or using the filter to select a particular name, which will then reformat the table so that only the row with data about that person is shown. For example, I can scroll through and look at the different translators, or I can use this and just pick the ones by Jose Burrell and see that he only had 1 book that he was a translator for. This dashboard invites UT students to learn about the people who created the text in the HRC Sueltas collection. Its design and variety of data elements empower students to focus on what interests them and to draw connections and make conclusions about the collection. It not only challenges norms about limiting library research to the reading room, but also presents its users with a different medium through which they can engage with collection material, not through the physical object or even a digitized image, but rather a completely new representation derived from the object's metadata. I hope that this dashboard is just the start to other complex visualizations of HRC collections, especially those that are currently most inaccessible. Even as we transition back to more on-site work and instruction, we cannot lose the new modes of archival engagement that arose during the pandemic. They are invaluable not only to addressing the barriers to viewing archival materials, but also to enabling new questions to be asked, new conclusions to be drawn, and new points of contact between researchers at all levels and collection materials. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.